I would just like to start this video out by saying the video that you are about to watch, please bear with me. I'm new to this. It's a little bit choppy. My camera cut off a couple of different times. I'm going to be using a new camera. Also, the little one that you hear in the background, please know that he was kept safe at all times. He did not get anywhere near the resin. I will be changing up when I am recording and when I am demolding, or when I am creating and when I am demolding. I will be creating at night once he is in bed, and then I will demold during the day, as that'll be a little bit safer when he's around. However, today we did keep him very safe, so please don't worry about that. He was 100% safe. Never came anywhere near the resin. So, with that being said, please enjoy the video. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Resin Rainbows. Today we are going to do a mold that is a special request by my husband. I poured this wolf mold a long time ago well, not a long time ago, but when I first started. And I did it in all black, but back then I didn't know really what I was doing. And I did not have it on a level surface, so needless to say, it did not turn out. Well, he was inspired by a tray that I poured earlier this week, and he would like me to do it in the same colors as that tray. And here is the tray that he saw that like I said, that I poured earlier this week. I don't know if you can see all that sparkly glitter, but he does want that glitter in there, so we are going to do our wolf mold in the same blue and red glitter. I believe I will either be adding crushed crystal or some silver glitter to the white to make it sparkly as well. So for today, we are going to use the Let's Resin epoxy resin, which is a 1:1 by volume. Please do not weigh the Let's Resin. It is by volume, not by weight. We will be using, this mold came from Temu. The glitters that I have, I actually got during the closeout sales for Joann Fabric and Crafts. We will be using the Resiner's dual head mixer, as I do have trouble with my hands. I was bit by a dog a couple of years ago, and a couple of my fingers do go numb, so I'm not able to sit here and mix. I have already done that off camera, so that it is right now sitting here and it is degassing. We are also using the Resiner's air purifier, because I am in my home. Please, please, please make sure that if you are using resin, whether that be UV resin, epoxy resin, tabletop resin, whatever your resin of choice is, please make sure that you are doing it safely and using the proper PPE. Again, I have my gloves on. So make sure you wear gloves, mask, things like that. We are going to be using some Elmer's glue. We're going to be talking about different ways to get rid of bubbles, because I do not have a bubble remover at this point in time. So I will be working on getting one of those, but in the meantime, there are a lot of different things that we can use. I want to talk about lighters and torches for getting rid of bubbles and what the best item to use is, because obviously we don't want to do anything that's going to hurt our molds, because we'd like to be able to reuse those, and other ways to kind of prevent bubbles in your resin. One handy tip that I have learned is the craft sticks. They are great for mixing your resin. They're stiff. There are all different kinds of mixers that you can get, though. I do love the silicone ones. Those are great as well. But if you are on a budget and you are getting the resin kit, a lot of times they will come with these. And these are great. However, they will put air into your resin. So a little tip for that is to reuse these. If you're doing a shallow pour like this, something that's very, very thin, definitely use your craft sticks. Use those to mix your resin. You're going to be able to see your bubbles, or at least be able to get them out a little bit easier. And as soon as you are done using them, wipe them off. Then they will end up with a small coating of resin on them, which then traps the air into the sticks. So then the next time you use them, not as many bubbles. And of course, the more times you do that, the less bubbles you're going to get. I apologize for that. The little one needed his TV reset, so I do apologize if you can hear the TV or him in the background. He is getting ready for his nap, but he is not quite down yet. I don't like to pour resin when he is in the room, so I may have to pause a few times while we get him back into his safe space. So I will be right back. Okay, another way of safely removing bubbles is with a lighter. Now let's talk about the right kind of lighter. You do not want to use a torch in your mold. If you use a torch in your mold, you risk the resin melting to your mold and ruining your mold. So this is just a small one as an example. Please, please, please do not use this. We also have some of these smaller ones, and I have seen a lot of crafters use these for a short spurt. Probably okay. To fire the whole thing, probably not. So these are kind of a use at your own risk, because they are hotter than a long neck lighter. The long neck lighter I find to be the best, the safest. This one is a flexible one. They make them flexible, not flexible. I have both kinds. But again, this is safe. So even if you hit your mold with it, it's not going to get hot enough to melt your mold. It's not going to fuse your resin to your mold and therefore not ruin your mold. Also, do not use a lighter of any kind if you have used alcohol inks or sprayed your resin with alcohol, as it will catch on fire and again would be just as bad as a torch. So we definitely don't want to be doing that. And right, no. So we don't want to be doing that until the alcohol has disappeared or evaporated, so that we're, we're safe there. All right, I am back again, and I apologize for that. Got a little one throwing a bit of a temper tantrum. The last way to get rid of bubbles that I have found that's quick and easy is 99% isopropyl alcohol. I use it in a little spray bottle like this. I also have some in a container like this. This one, sometimes I will pre-spray my mold, especially when it's detailed like this, to keep stuff out of the tight spaces. And then I use this as well for wiping things down and wiping my molds out to make sure that they are ready to go. Okay, so our resin is actually starting to get a little warm, because the little one back here just does not want to settle down today. I have 3 cups. I prefer to use the silicone cups, and since I'm not using a debubbler, probably doesn't matter. I know if you're using a debubbler, they say not to use these as they can cause extra bubbles from the silicone itself. So you should probably use the plastic ones that are like this, that again, they have the measurements on them so that you're able to do by volume. Okay, so we are going to take our very warm resin and we are going to divide it. Hopefully that'll stop it from getting too warm. And I'm going to put about 3 ounces in 2 of the cups and then 2 ounces in another, as this mold supposedly holds 7 ounces and that would be 8. And I'm just going to apologize for him in the background. There's nothing I can do. So this one we will go ahead and put about 2 ounces in, or 60 mLs. 3 ounces would be 90. It's about 30 mLs per ounce. All right, and we'll go ahead and we'll put 3 in here. Go. All right, and I do still have a little bit left, but that's okay. I have another project I'm going to use that for. Hopefully it won't get too hot while we're waiting to do that. We are going to use just a bit of white pigment paste. I believe this is one that I got from Temu. Probably about that much. And we only need it in one. Obviously for our red, white, and blue, I do store it upside down so that it's already in the tip ready to go. Because this is a shallow one and I do want to coat a few more of my sticks, I'm going to go ahead and use one of my non-coated craft sticks, and I will just mix that up. And I want to make sure that this is opaque. We don't really have to worry about that with the resin because of how much, or with the other two, because of how much glitter I'm going to use. Yeah, that looks nice. I want to make sure it's nice and stirred up though, so that you don't have any little clumps of pigment paste. Again, my hands just not go. Switch to my other hand here. Sorry about that. Get it going there. There we go. All right, that looks pretty good. I'm just going to leave it kind of set again, and I've cleaned off my stick. I'm going to leave it over on my curing mat to cure a little bit. We'll set that off to the side for a minute. So I've not decided if I'm adding sparkle to that or not. I have these two glitters, red and blue, from Joann Fabric and Crafts, so we're going to use those, and we're going to use quite a bit, even though we're going to use some glue to help suspend it as well. I do want to use a lot, just because I want it to have that pizzazz. So I'm going to sprinkle quite a bit in there. Looks pretty good. Set that one off to the side in case we need more. Again, one of my uncoated craft sticks. And I will wipe my sticks down a little bit too with a baby wipe or some paper towel with alcohol, just to somewhat clean them. I don't want to clean them all the way, but I would like to clean them some. Try to make sure you can see what I'm doing here. And that's nice and sparkly. I don't think I need to add anything else to that. There is a trick to keep your glitter suspended, and that is Elmer's clear glue. Please make sure it's the clear, and you should be adding 1 drop per ounce, which we know that I have 3 ounces in here. However, I think I am going to, I do want this to move a little bit, so I am only going to add 2 drops for now to this one. And as you can see, it immediately makes it a little thicker consistency. This is still pourable, which is what I want. I want it to still have a little bit of pourability in it so that it will move a little bit. So there we go. Beautiful. I'm just going to wipe this off. Get all of that glittery goodness back in the cup and off of my stick. There we go. Okay, and then we are going to do the same thing with the blue. Just a nice generous helping. The more glitter you add, the more that it will stay suspended as well. Obviously, because it can't fall all the way down. However, that's not the trick we're using today. I am using quite a lot just because I want the extra pizzazz. But I am using the Elmer's glue trick as well. I believe that was discovered by Daniel Cooper. So, go. I'm trying to decide if I want to use some silver glitter or some crushed crystal by Unicorn Art. I love the crushed crystal by Unicorn Art. Beautiful, beautiful. Let's see. I don't know if it would be able to be seen in the white, though, is my only issue. So I'm thinking we may need to use some silver. So we will bring the white back over here, and I think I will add a touch of silver to it just so that it kind of blends all the way through, glittery all the way through. This, like I said, this is a special request from my husband. Not sure if I said that earlier or not. Was inspired by the red, white, and blue tray that I did. And so he is wanting to hang this in our room once I get it done. So anytime my husband has a special request, I do try to immediately do it for him. He has always been supportive of any craft that I've done, because this is not my only craft. I crochet. Before my injury, I did bake cakes. Of course, I can't really do the piping bag anymore. My hands can't tolerate that anymore with the injury to those fingers. But I've crocheted, I paint, all kinds of things. So this one is just a relatively quick and easy craft, which is why I figured I would throw in a few of the tips and tricks that I've learned throughout too. I am going to grab a couple of scrapers. These are awesome. They have their little hook on them. They clean the cup out so well. I'm going to go ahead and grab 3 of those, 1 for each color, just so I don't cross-contaminate the glitters when I'm pouring. Now, I want this to be red, white, and blue. With this mold, I can work from bottom to top, or, well, back to front, or I can work front to back. I am going to work today front to back, meaning that I'm pouring my colors so that when it's hung, it is flipped over this way, because that is the way I want it to face in my room. So we want it to be red, white, and blue, which I want to go this way. Therefore, I will start here so that I'm working backwards. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze my cup because I want a real thin line. And I'm just going to go along this here and just kind of get it started. And I like to start in a bigger area and then make my line thinner, because I know me and I have trouble getting that thin line going. So there we go. And this is just telling the glitter where I want it to go to make sure I get all of these tiny gaps filled. I will be going through this with a brush as well, just to kind of make sure that I get all those little nooks and crannies there. And I know I want it to go to about here. And I am going to stop right there for a minute, just because I want to pour my other colors. Okay. Now, I do use 99% alcohol for bubbles. A lot of people use 97 for cleaning. I don't. I just use the same. That way I don't have to keep track of what's in each container. I am just using the same alcohol. I'm cleaning my glove off there so that when I do the blue, I don't accidentally get red into the blue. Not that it matters. It's going to mix and meld a little bit. But now we're going to start at this side because I want my white in the middle. So we're going to go ahead and pour some of this. We're trying to be careful not to hit those center cutout areas because it will make it a little harder to demold. That being said, my husband a lot of times will demold my molds for me. Especially if they're hard to demold. Flat ones like this I can tend to get on my own, but with no feeling in 2 of my fingers, and no grip, it's really hard for me to demold bigger items, such as pencil holders or trinket boxes. My husband tends to do those for me. So if you ever see a video and you don't see me demold something, chances are it's because he demolded it off of camera. I will have him demold it and cover it so that I can't see it until I reveal it to all of you. Because I like to be surprised a little bit sometimes too. All right, and there again, we're going to go ahead and we're going to stop there. I do see that I have some areas that need to be fixed, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that here in a minute. But let's go ahead and get some of this white poured in the middle. So that way everything is going where it should. I apologize if you can hear the TV in the background. The little one is supposed to be watching some cartoons to kind of keep him busy while he settles for his nap. because I don't really like him running around too much, especially when I'm pouring resin, because resin can be toxic. So we try to keep him as far away from it as we can. Obviously, sometimes he does come into my crafting area. Oops. Over poured that just a little bit. That's all right. Now we're going to get our red, and we're going to come back in with that. And just continue to fill this up until we have everything nice and full. We want all of our colors to touch and fill up all of these spaces. And I'm going to do what's called doming, which I did forget to spray this with alcohol first. I was going to do that, but I did spray it earlier because I had to clean it a bit. But anyway, I'm going to do what's known as doming, and that is where you fill it up over the edge just a tiny bit. Obviously, you want to try to make sure it doesn't flow over your edges, but you do want it up over, otherwise you're going to have a lot of trimming to do. And something this intricate, trimming is crazy on something like this. So I do want to try to get it just as full as I can without going into those empty spaces or overflowing. We have a little bit of a space here that we need to get down in. There we go. Yeah, and I just overflowed into that little space there, but it's all right. If it does overflow into it, there's nothing to panic about. I am going to take my little silicone tool here and help kind of push this in. Now, I did not add any glue to the white, and there's a reason for that. I want it to kind of mesh together on the back. I'm going to try to uncover those there so I don't have as much cleanup to do, and I will come back and get those. But there we go for now. We got everything into the little crooks and crevices, and now we'll take our blue. So we have a lot of stuff to fill here. We'll just very carefully, and I do know that I mixed up too much, and that's okay. I do have some extras that I do need to make, as I was offered a spot in a brand new store opening up, and so I'll be making some extras, some keychains, things like that to stock my shelves in that store. So a little bit of extra is actually a good thing. It allows me to just get a little bit more product in there. Get this little, it's like a wolf that I did. With these kinds of molds, you do not want to set those on your silicone mat. You want to make sure you have them on a piece of paper or a paper towel. They will ruin your silicone mat just because of the type of silicone that they are. So let's go ahead and demold the extras first, and we'll see what these look like. These are just some flower straw toppers. Thought they'd be really cute. Oh, that one turned out beautiful. For 4th of July coming up in a couple of weeks here. So that's pretty. Okay, let's see this one. And I poured them all differently just to see what the different effects would be. Okay, this one was mostly blue. I just put a little bit of white there to finish filling up the mold, but that turned out really pretty too. This one I believe was all 3 colors again, but I dirty poured them. Okay. Oh yeah, that one turned out nice. A little bit of blue in there, not very much, but a little bit. And then this one was mostly red, again with just a little bit of white to fill it up. Oh, we got a bubble. My resin was getting quite thick, so one bubble there that I gotta fix, but that's not too bad. That turned out pretty cute. It made the leaves silver, but the rose itself is red, so that's really pretty too. All right, and then for the one that everybody's waiting for, let's go ahead and demold this. Now it is still soft, so we're gonna be very careful on molding it. And this will need to lay flat. Goodness gracious, today has been a day. My camera kicked off just as I was getting ready to unveil this. I did not realize that. I have unmolded it, so I will reveal it for you. Here it is. I will leave it lay flat for a couple of weeks just so that it can completely cure. When it's hung, it will be very soft. It will be hung this way. As you can see, there's the little wolf here, the wolf head. My husband did pick out some hangers for it. I will mount these to the back in a couple of weeks when it's ready to be hung. So, but anyway, there is the finished project. I hope you all enjoyed that, and I hope I can see you on the next one. Thank you. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.